You're watching Moms Matter. I'm your host, Shirini Adigar. Joining us today is my newest friend from Instagram who is going to blow your mind away. Get ready for it. Melissa Lefkowitz. She is triple barred, if there is a thing, but she's practicing here in Los Angeles as a criminal defense attorney and a mama and a Zionist, and has an incredible show that you can listen to on ABC in the car while you're driving on Tuesday nights called Call for Justice. So I am thrilled to have her here. We're going to get deep and we're going to dive into the things that we all want to talk about. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I feel so honored to be here, and you're so incredible. I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness. Really.
I feel the same way.
And everything you do, everything that you are, everything that you're speaking out about for Israel, you are doing it all, and you're incredible. Really.
I appreciate you. I feel the same about you. I found you on Instagram.
Thank you.
Because there are beautiful things that come out of social media, and you are just such a warrior in so many ways. I want to talk about how you kind of do it all. You're a criminal defense attorney. You have a talk show. You have a son that you care deeply about. You have a beautiful relationship with your husband, and you give so much back to the community, and you do it so gracefully. And this is a mom show. Tell us, give us some tips on how you kind of navigate your life and how you do it all.
You know, it really is about recognizing that there's just no place else to be, no place else to go when you realize that you have been called to this injustice. This is something that you just make the time for. This is something that we do no matter what.
It's amazing. And you do. You're nonstop. I mean, since October 7th, you've been rallying, nonstop in every way, in person, online, through your show. And you've just unapologetically said, this is wrong and we all need to stand up. And as an attorney, you can speak volumes to that because you actually know what you're talking about, rather than many of us who are just kind of doing it because we feel the injustice.
You know what you're talking about.
But how have you found your voice to just really be a strong warrior and not worry about your career in the midst of it all, right? Because it can be very hurtful.
You know, at the end of the day, what I am is a Jew, and I am a proud Jew. And that is something that actually has to come first right now. That is something that we need to prioritize right now. Now, Israel is out there saving our collective butts. That is what is happening. They are saving themselves because they value life. And then they are saving every single person along the way. That is the story. That is the message. And while they do that, we can't just sit idly by on our couches. We have to get up. We have to rise up and stand against anti-Semitism and stand up for Israel.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. And I think so many of us have become activated. We always had a love for Israel before October 7th, but ever since this barbarism that we saw, we've all been activated to stand up. And it's not just online, but it's in real life. I mean, you've seen it with your son in school. Can you share with us what happened?
Oh, absolutely. So my son was at school and another student shoulder bumped him and called him an expletive Jew, as if it was a bad thing. Now, you're speaking about activation, and I have to say, I have never seen a community activate the way they did. And I'm talking about our community from here, from people that stand with us, all the way to Israel, where Chayalim chimed in, literally sending videos. It was a community effort. This is something that we all feel activated over. This is something we must stand up against. This is something we must speak out about before it spreads like wildfire.
I mean, your son is only 12 years old. For him to have the courage to come to you and say, someone spoke to me this way about being a Jew, and then to have the courage to actually take it to the school, right? And not to shy away from it. What are you doing at home with him? What should we be doing with our kids to make sure that they are not shy about who they are, so they feel the pride?
Education, education, and education. Okay, that comes down to, why are we doing this? Why are we fighting this fight? Now, everybody's calling it political, religious, but the bottom line is, this is an existential crisis.
Yes, it is.
This is about life and death. And the bottom line, it's about good and evil. We need to start educating our kids so that they are armed to be able to have these discussions with other people, even if it's just going to tell the dean of students what happened in an articulate way and how it made them feel.
Well, that's huge because if you don't do that now, they go off to college and they can be completely ignorant to the real facts because there's so much misinformation out there, right?
So
On
much.
TikTok, on
So
Instagram,
much.
right? And they can completely be brainwashed, and then this is what we're seeing.
And we saw that post 9/11, we all knew what was up, okay? I was in New York, we all knew what was up. And now it's almost as though people have forgotten what occurred on 9/11, what occurred thereafter. It is shocking.
It is shocking. You're absolutely right. But when you say education, what do you mean by that? I mean, do you mean send your kids to Jewish school? Do you mean attend after school programs? How do we educate our kids?
No, I mean, sit down with your children. I mean, sit down with them, talk to them about what's happening. Because guess what? They're going to go look it up online by themselves, and they're going to maybe get a very tainted story. Because as you said, it is riddled with misinformation online.
It's so true. And I just admire you so much because we had a conversation and you said to me, yeah, my son doesn't have TikTok. And I said, whoa, how do you do that? So, I mean, you're not just talking it, you're walking the walk, you're talking the talk, you're doing it all. How do you say to your son, because you know a lot more than most of us, you're a criminal defense attorney, you understand the system differently. How do you say to your son, I'm sorry, you can't have TikTok? Like, how do you fight? How do you win that battle?
Well, we win it by recognizing that we're not in a rush, right? We're not in a rush to grow up. We're not in a rush to get online. We're not in a rush to see all these things that truly do not meet with the expectations of reality sometimes, and definitely don't meet up with or align with what children should be listening to. So, you have to take a firm hand on that, but also, I really recommend Bark, which just gets installed in your child's phone. And it is something that really monitors the phone. And it is something that alerts you if there's something, awry going on.
Ooh, I've never heard of this. It's an app.
Really cool. It's a really cool app.
All right, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Mom pro tip.
I love it, Mom pro tip. That's awesome. Okay, now tell me a little bit more about this incredible show, the radio show that you have, Call for Justice, because it's blowing up and it's got like a universal, audience. So you're reaching out. It's incredible what you're doing, and you've really shifted since October 7th.
Oh yes, we've shifted. So prior to October 7th, yes, we did call for justice against anti-Semitism. It happened numerous times, but we also called for justice against wrongful convictions, against abuse, against all kinds of injustices, any injustice you could think of, because this, remember, is a call-in show. So it's my justice seekers, our listeners, who get to call in and dictate, what are we calling for justice about? They get to call for justice too, which is incredible. But since October 7th, we've shifted the show entirely, and all we've been calling for justice about is the release of every single one of these hostages. We've been calling for justice for Israel and calling for justice against anti-Semitism.
I am just so impressed with you at a time we need so many more people like you who are really, because you say it, calling for justice. Why do you think it's so hard for the world to see this? Because you say it's good and evil. I mean, it's very clear to me as well, but it's not so clear to the masses that this is a story between good and evil.
I think it's fear generated. I think it's very fear based. I think that people who don't know things, they supplant that lack of knowledge or naivete around that issue with these fears around that issue. And if they don't know, it can be stressful or concerning. But I think that the more we educate, and remember, I keep saying the word educate, and it's real because that is what we are tasked to do right now. That is the one thing that we can control. We can control that education. I was raised by Holocaust survivor grandparents, including a fabulous and brilliant mother. But the mantra around my house was that education is something they can never take away from you. Ever. Now, let us all let that sink in. They can never take it away. And that is our job. We must instill these values. We must educate our kids. And we must do our best to peacefully and with love educate our friends, our family, our colleagues, and our allies about what is really happening here.
It's such great advice. And Melissa, you're doing that. You're doing that every day. You're educating and you're uplifting and you're bringing so much justice to all of this corruption and darkness around us. It's incredible.
Thank you.
And I know that your time is valuable, and you're working, and you came into the studio to be with us. But before you leave, if you had one message to share with all the mamas watching today, something that sustains you and that helps you get through all of this, what is that one bit of advice?
Here's my message. It's time to rise up in any way that you know how. Whether you're a baker, whether you're a chef, whether you're an artist, a comedian, I don't care how you do it, but it's time. We need to all rise up. We need to all stand against anti-Semitism.
You are just, I applaud you for who you are. I'm so glad that I met you, and that this world has opened up now on Instagram to so many people who are value aligned, and you're one of them. And I'm really honored to call you my friend. And thank you for joining us today. And for everyone who doesn't follow Melissa, follow her, listen to her show. We're going to put all the little tags below, and we'll hope to see you guys next time right here on Moms Matter.
Thank you, Shireen. You're so incredible. You are so fabulous. I love you and all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're really awesome.